In this video, I'm going to give you 5 exciting ways to play the minor pentatonic scale over 3 different chord types. Now, if you feel like your pentatonics are sounding a bit stale, this can help freshen up your playing and add some really colourful sounds, all using our beloved 5-note scale. This can also help you start playing the changes, where navigating more complex chord progressions might ordinarily seem really challenging and out of reach. So I'll give you some different chord progressions to play over, as well as some strategies as to how to approach them. Also stick around to the end, where I'll give you a great tip for navigating a 2-5-1 chord progression to give some really interesting outside sounds just using the minor pentatonic scale. My name's Steve Allsworth. Let's dive in. We'll be looking at superimposing or playing our minor pentatonic scales over 3 different chord types: minor 7, major 7 and dominant 7. Now this will cover a lot of different situations, but I've left out minor 7 flat 5 or half diminished, partly in the interest of time, but also because we'll get into the slightly murky world of the Locrian mode. That'll have to be for another time. Now the principle of superimposing minor pentatonic scales is really simple. I'm sure you're already familiar with the idea of playing either a minor pentatonic or a major pentatonic scale over a dominant 7th chord in a blues context. So for example, over an A7 chord, we would typically expect to hear either an A minor pentatonic scale or an A major pentatonic scale. Now this can also be viewed through the lens of an F sharp minor pentatonic scale, which is essentially the same thing, just starting on the 2nd note in the scale. So we're already superimposing 2 different minor pentatonic scales over the same chord. And we're going to carry this exact same principle into all the examples that we're going to look at in this lesson. We'll start with our default stable inside sound, where we're picking up on all the safe notes. So over a D minor 7 chord, for example, we'd normally play a D minor pentatonic scale. All very familiar, I'm sure. But we've actually got 2 other options which can help stretch the ears a little bit more. The first is by playing a minor pentatonic up a 5th. So over our D minor 7 chord, up a 5th, that will be A. So we'd play an A minor pentatonic scale over a D minor 7 chord. It's the addition of the 9th that gives this more of a sophisticated character. So that's the E here, and that gives us more of a D minor 9 sound. Now you might also notice that there's no 3rd in this scale. That will be the F here in relation to a D minor 7 chord. And this gives it a slightly more ambiguous character. The second alternative is to play a minor pentatonic up a tone. So over our D minor 7 chord, up a tone is E, that will be E minor pentatonic. Now this gives us even more of an open sound, really hitting those upper extensions, the 9, the 11 and the 13. But it's the presence of this B here which gives it more of a Dorian flavour. So to summarise, over a minor 7 chord, we can play a minor pentatonic scale starting from the root, from the fifth, or from the major second. Playing over major 7 chords is where we can start to get a bit more outside and interesting. Again, we'll start with our default inside stable sound. So in the context of a C major 7 chord, this would be C major pentatonic. Now remember that this is interchangeable with its relative minor brethren. So our root note C, we just go down 3 frets to the major 6, that's A, and that'll give us A minor pentatonic. So this is our standard safe zone and sounds very stable and perhaps a little bit predictable. But just like with our minor 7 chords, we've got 2 further options. The first is to play a minor pentatonic up a major third. So again, in the context of a C major 7 chord, we go up a third, and that'll give us E minor pentatonic. This really picks up on some of those upper extensions, but there's no root note C in this scale, so this one sounds a little bit ethereal. The second option we have is one of my absolute favourites, and this is where we play a minor pentatonic scale down 1 semitone, or from the major 7th. So again, in the context of our C major 7 chord, this will be B minor pentatonic. This one is super beautiful and is often referred to as the Lydian pentatonic because it's outlining the sound of a major 7 sharp 11 chord. There's that sharp 11 as part of our B minor pentatonic scale. So in summary, over a major 7 chord, we can play a minor pentatonic scale starting from the major 6th, from the major 3rd, or from the major 7th, sounding more ethereal and tense as we go. Now the next step of this is to try and make some music with the concepts that we've looked at. And this is where we can start to see how powerful superimposing minor pentatonic scales can be. As our first foray into this, we're going to try playing over a simple chord progression which goes from C major 7 to D flat major 7. Now the safe, predictable option is to use C major pentatonic over our C major 7 chord and D flat major pentatonic over our D flat major 7 chord, otherwise known as A minor pentatonic and B flat minor pentatonic. Instead, we're going to use our up a third trick. So over our C major 7 chord, we go up a major third, so that'll be E minor pentatonic. And over our D flat major 7 chord, it will be F minor pentatonic. Now, of course, you can start just by taking one position of a minor pentatonic scale and just shift it up and down by 1 fret. But we can create some really musical phrases just by targeting some of these natural 2-string shapes that we've got inside of our minor pentatonic scale. For example, and simply move it up 1 fret for our F minor pentatonic. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with my future content. Now we can take this up a level by using our upper third and downer semitone tricks. We're going to try this over a fairly common chord progression that goes C major 7 to A flat major 7. A really beautiful little chord sequence. Now over that C major 7, we can go up a third, so that will give us E minor pentatonic. And over our A flat major 7, we go down 1 semitone, so that will give us G minor pentatonic. So the trick here is trying to visualize the two scales and really see the differences between them. Now obviously we can start off with our simple shape 1 minor pentatonic and just shift them up and down 3 positions. So for example, go up 3 frets. But this isn't perhaps the most practical way of playing. So quite quickly, you want to be able to play different scale shapes in one area of the fretboard. For example, we can use our shape 4 E minor pentatonic in 7th position. And our shape 3 G minor pentatonic. The next chord progression goes from a D minor 9 chord to an A major 7 chord. Again, really nice little chord progression. Here we can try our upper 5th trick on the D minor 9 chord, so that will be A minor pentatonic. And over our A major 7 chord, we can try our downer semitone Lydian pentatonic trick, so that will be A flat minor pentatonic. Now when you first start with this, you might consider just playing straight up and down through the scales. And this can be a really good exercise in itself, so we're really trying to nail those changes as we travel to the next chord in the sequence. Now, of course, this is all fine, but what I want to do is give you a couple of other ways of looking at this to give you a slightly different perspective on the same scale. Now within our minor pentatonic, we've got all these really nice third and fourth intervals. Here's a quick exercise to try this out. And we can extend this across 3 strings to really amp up this sound. So now I'm going to improvise over that chord progression just to show you some of these concepts in action. Now, as I mentioned at the top of this video, you should already be fairly familiar with the idea of playing 2 different pentatonic scales over a dominant 7th chord. For example, if we're playing over a G7, we might traditionally think G minor pentatonic, or we might think G major pentatonic, which is the same thing as our E minor pentatonic. But what I want to focus on here is what's sometimes referred to as the altered pentatonic. This one starts on the minor third above the chord that we're playing over. So in the context of G7, we got up a minor third, which will be 3 frets. That'll give us B flat minor pentatonic. Now the reason this one's special is because it picks up on all those lovely outside altered notes, these being the flat 5, sharp 5, flat 9, and sharp 9. And this makes it a great choice for playing over any kind of altered dominant 7th chord. As you can hear, this one sounds very angular and outside, so you've got to be a little bit careful about how you use it. Now it feels like it really wants to resolve somewhere. Now in the case of our altered dominant chord, G7 sharp 5 for example, this feels like it wants to resolve to a 1 chord, which will be C major 7. So let's put this into action using some of the concepts that we've looked at so far. So if we take a 2-5-1 in the key of C, this would be a D minor 9, G7 altered, C major 7. We can approach this with a really neat upwards stepping motion. So our upper 5th trick over the D minor 9, that's A minor pentatonic. The upper minor 3rd trick for our altered pentatonic, that's B flat minor pentatonic over the G7 sharp 5. And finally, a downer semitone Lydian trick over the C major 7, that's B minor pentatonic. Now I'm going to play a short solo, mostly using our trusty shape 1 minor pentatonic pattern, just to show you how effective this concept can be. can see, there's a huge amount of potential if we combine all of the concepts we've looked at so far. So try them out and let me know what your favourite is down in the comments. Links to backing tracks can be found down below. And don't forget to check the notification bell to keep up to date with my future content, and happy practicing.